Hi, and welcome to ThePrint. My name is Karanjeet Kaur. I'm a journalist and an editor. Today, I'd like to talk to you about the infamous breast cancer awareness ad on Delhi Metro and what it says about the status of women's health in India. The AI-generated breast cancer advertisement currently haunting the Delhi Metro makes one thing perfectly clear. We'll accept literal machines shaping discourse before we can accept the word breast in public conversation. The ad was issued in public interest by YouWeCan, which is former cricketer Yuvraj Singh's Cancer Foundation. And it has managed to rile people up in several ways. First off, it's an insult to aesthetic literacy. But let's say you disregard the bizarre visual, which is barely intelligible AI slop of women in a bus next to a mound of oranges. What I can't wrap my head around is the fact that someone, a human presumably, thought "check your oranges" was an apt line for a breast cancer awareness poster. Someone checked it, someone approved it, someone put marketing might behind it. And not one of those people paused to think that breast cancer awareness could benefit from using the word breast. In the organization's own estimation, the use of oranges is a bold creative choice. But, and hear me out, maybe a bolder creative choice would have been to hire an actual photographer and copywriter to do the job. In what I assume is a misguided attempt to be culturally sensitive, the campaign manages to be deeply infantilizing of the demographic it aims to educate. The future is here, ladies, but ideas about our health are still stuck in the past. This isn't just a solitary tech misfire. This prudish pirouette around women's bodies, which reduce a life-threatening condition to a cutesy euphemism, is actually emblematic of how women's health is persistently trivialized in India, even by those who claim to champion it. Maybe, in a circuitous way, the ad achieved its objective by fueling this outrage cycle. After all, any publicity is good publicity. But this coyness around women's health, stemming from shame about our bodies, has real devastating consequences for many women. In a country where even cancer foundations tiptoe around naming body parts, women routinely find their very real medical concerns dismissed, minimized, or buried under the rotting debris of cultural taboo. And only women pay for these fundamental fiascos through compromised access to basic healthcare, our bodily autonomy, and sometimes our lives. Medical misogyny in India begins even before birth. If you're lucky enough to be born in a country with a shameful legacy of female foeticide. For those who make it, the healthcare system's dismissal of women's concerns becomes a lifelong companion. It crosses barriers of class, caste, and geography. Yes, urban educated upper-class women might have better access to healthcare than their rural counterparts. But the dismissal of our medical autonomy is remarkably democratic. Through our reproductive years, every health concern is reflexively filtered through the lens of marriage and motherhood. Of course, there are historical reasons for why women's health became synonymous with maternal health in India. And that's because the country's exceptionally high maternal mortality ratio stood at 556 in 1990 against a global average of 385. But even as we've made significant strides in reducing maternal mortality, our healthcare system is stuck in this narrow framework. For instance, have you attempted to get a transvaginal sonogram as a young unmarried woman? Good luck getting one, because our medical practitioners are more worried about protecting our virtue. A family's anxiety about our hymen outweighs any medical necessity. Menstrual pain that disrupts your daily life? Wait until marriage fixes it. Want your tubes tied because you've made an informed choice about not wanting children? You'll need permission from your hypothetical future husband first, but not before your gynecologist has tried their best to dissuade you. Things are so bad that a few years ago, Indian women had to compile a crowdsourced list of non-judgmental gynecologists. Even when we finally break free from the ankle bracelet of menstruation, we are greeted with the lovely possibility of having symptoms of various diseases, from hypertension to arthritis, dismissed as just menopause. And when menopause actually does wreak havoc on our mental and physical health, Research funding and medical attention mysteriously evaporate. So prevalent is this phenomenon that there is even a term for it, the Yentl syndrome, which derives its name from a 1983 film starring Barbara Streisand, who pretends to be a man to receive an education. In clinical parlance, however, it translates to circumstances where women are misdiagnosed and mistreated unless their symptoms manifest in men. In other words, your pain or signs of illness as a woman are much more likely to be written off as low pain threshold or an overactive imagination or even hysteria than if you were a man. Of course, this is assuming you have the privilege to consult a doctor or medical professional in the first place. According to the National Family Health Survey 2, held in 1998-99, only 52% of women in India are even consulted in decisions about their own healthcare. In Madhya Pradesh, the figure is as low as 37%. So our bodies, it seems, are never quite our own to worry about. But our problems are singularly ours. The ultimate grotesque proof of how little agency women have over their own bodies lies in India's organ donation numbers. The statistics tell a brutal story. 80% of live organ donors in India are women, while they make up less than 19% of organ recipients. From 1995 to 2021, 29,000 men underwent transplants, while the corresponding figure for women is only 6,945. When you dig deeper, you find the usual justifications. Men are primary breadwinners, so their health must be prioritized. According to the ruthless arithmetic of patriarchy, women's bodies become a repository of spare parts for the family. Take the recent case of a young mother in Bengaluru who died after donating a part of her liver to her husband's aged aunt. That case is not an anomaly. It's the logical conclusion of a system that treats women's bodies as communal property. If you think the systemic neglect of women's health is limited to a few edge cases, consider this. 2/3 of Indian women are anemic, a completely preventable condition that we have somehow normalized as a woman's lot in life. 1/4 of new mothers suffer from postpartum depression. Yet, we would rather guilt mothers than acknowledge the mental health crisis that this poses. The gender gap in healthcare is so pervasive that it's literally reshaping our brains. Research shows that in gender unequal countries like India, women's cortices are measurably thinner than men's. This is a difference that's absent in more equitable societies. When science deigns to pay attention to women's health, it does so with staggering incompetence. Here's a fact that would be laughable if it weren't so enraging. Until 2023, that is last year, period products weren't even tested with actual menstrual blood. For decades, the industry used saline solution instead. From this institutional indifference to the active exclusion of queer and trans women from healthcare conversations, the message is clear. Women's health matters only when it can't be ignored, and even then, barely enough to warrant real attention or resources. So when you see that AI-generated breast cancer awareness ad from YouWeCan, with its infantilizing fruit metaphors, remember that it's symptomatic of how modern India approaches women's health. We are racing towards a future of AI-generated healthcare, while still clutching our fossilized medieval attitudes. The machines may be learning, but we refuse to.